Come with me on a journey to the year 2015. You want to do some invasions in Bloodborne. Now, things have changed a little bit since Demon Souls and Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 2. Now when you invade in Bloodborne, you're more likely to invade, actually, you pretty much have to invade into a group of cooperators, which means you're no longer going to get those precious 1v1s that you're so used to and accustomed to. You can't just come in and raffle stomp all over a solo host who has no idea what he's doing. Now you have to raffle stomp all over a host who knows what a host who might not know what they're doing, and his friends who may or may not know what they're doing. But there's passwords this time. So you might be invading into the world of a player who has a higher level phantom with him who has been quote unquote scaled down with a password. This is new. Remember, it's 2015. You've never had to deal with this before. On top of that, your blood vials and your quicksilver bullets don't replenish after an invasion. So if you want to replenish those, you have to sit through loading screens. But guess what? It's 2015. Loading screens haven't been patched yet, which means it's just a 2-minute long Bloodborne on your screen. You can't warp between Bon Lantern to Bon Lantern in Bloodborne. No, you have to return to the dream and then go to the place that you want to go to if you wish to change areas, which means 2 more loading screens. So you're sitting here with proximity-based matchmaking, which means it's not even just that you have to be in the same world level as the host. Now you have to be like pretty damn close to where the host is standing in their own world to find an invasion in the first place. Again, it's 2015. Why do I bring that up? Because you could be playing Dark Souls 2. Scholar of the First Sin was just released. Dark Souls 2 is alive and active, and there's plenty of PvP and invasions to be had there that maybe fit more into what you're used to doing before. No proximity-based matchmaking, warp from bonfire to bonfire, items replenish after an invasion, you can invade people who are hollow, you can even invade people who have killed their bosses. It's just easier to invade. Then, on top of all of this, there's chalice dungeons and chalice gems, and you have to go into the dungeons and you have to get the gems. But remember, there's no wiki yet. No one knows that you can just go to PWMF22GU. Maybe some people know it, but that's not common knowledge. It's not something that everybody's familiar with. Saint, Riot, Jesus Christ, we've been sitting here for 2 minutes and 30 seconds watching you try to get an invasion, while you drone on and on about what it's like in 2015 to get an invasion in Bloodborne. Why? Why am I watching this? I'll tell you why you're watching this. Because I'm answering the question, quote unquote, is Bloodborne PvP dead? Short answer, no. But if you want to stick around, I'll explain even more. My point I'm making right now is if you are a content creator, if you are on YouTube and you're making videos, or if you're on Twitch and you're streaming invasions and PvP and what have you in the year 2015, maybe it takes a while for you to get some invasions. Maybe it takes a while for you to actually find that. And in between all this, you've got to sit here with these loading screens, and you've got Twitch chat you got to deal with, and they want something to happen. Why isn't anything happening? Please, streamer, make something happen. I'm trying to make something happen. I can't make the bell ring any louder. I can't make the radius for the bell any wider. I'm searching, okay? I'm searching. I'm doing my best. I've got the bell ringing. I'm sitting here. I'm waiting. We're hoping that something will happen, and maybe it will, or maybe it won't. We could just switch over to Dark Souls 2. You guys want to just switch over to Dark Souls 2? Because of this, Bloodborne never got the love that it deserved for its PvP. But it's really easy to see why. Bloodborne PvP can be the most fun player versus player in From Software history, in my opinion. In my humble opinion, it can be the best. However, most of the time, it's not. It's not like Dark Souls 3 or Dark Souls 1 or Dark Souls 2, where if you find a parry champion just spamming the fuck out of parry, you can just run around and backstab them, and probably that would be the end of the parry spamming. In Bloodborne, a parry spammer spamming parry gets to stagger you. Imagine if every time someone swatted with a cestus and missed a parry, you were hit stunned. Imagine that. Imagine that. It's easy to see why a lot of content creators just quit ringing the fucking bell. It's easy to see that. Especially when you consider, during this same time, they could just go to Dark Souls 2, and they could have balanced, balnaced PvP. But I love Bloodborne PvP. I absolutely love it. I'm going to go back to something I first mentioned, where you invade into co-op groups. I feel like that was the intention of Dark Souls PvP from the beginning, with Dark Souls PvP. As evidence, I would offer up the first time a Dark Souls player, if Dark Souls was your first Souls game, and it's the first time you're playing through the game, it is very likely that your first invasion experience will be against Lautrec and his gank squad in Anor Londo. I don't think that that's coincidence. I feel like they did that on purpose. I think all PvP was supposed to be like that. Well, why isn't Dark Souls 1... Dark Souls 1, remember, not the remaster. Why didn't Dark Souls 1 feature more invasions like that? Because the game didn't work. This was before From Software put dedicated matchmaking servers into their games. I won't even go into the dedicated servers meme. We're not doing that on this video. Just know that each game does have dedicated servers, but only for the matchmaking. As a result, Dark Souls 1 summoning either never happened, because it was always failing, or it was slow as balls. And so, in Dark Souls 1, rarely would you run across people who actually had phantoms. As a result, the 1v1 at the bonfire honor duel meta spawned into existence. That became the thing. That became what people expected. Dark Souls 2 didn't do anything to change that. Keep in mind, Miyazaki didn't have a whole lot to do with Dark Souls 2. In his next game, in Miyazaki's next game, Bloodborne, he made sure that in order for you to invade, the host would have a phantom or would be looking for invasions themselves. And that's what happened. That's what we got. This appeals to me. As a person who doesn't give a shit about builds, I'm not here to match builds with other players. If you are, that's fine, and I totally understand how that's fun. But it's not what I want to do. I'm here to match wits with people. That's what I want to do. I want to see if my tactics are better than your tactics when you've got a team. Being hunted by 2 or 3 players is one of the more fun things, that it's actually the most fun thing that I do in these games, in my opinion. Again, my opinion. So, I love Bloodborne PvP, and I understand why it didn't get a fair shake. I totally understand why a lot of content creators dipped out on Bloodborne. And as a result, a lot of the players who watch content creators, and the content creators sort of become the trendsetters for a game, Bloodborne PvP became, go to any, stream where somebody's, playing Bloodborne, or read any article, read the comments of an article that talks about Bloodborne, or anything like that. And a lot of times you'll see the same sentiment being relayed, which is, there's no PvP in Bloodborne. That's not the case. Is PvP in Bloodborne dead? No. The PvP in Bloodborne will never die. Because, for as long as people are co-oping the game, there is PvP, because there's invasions. As long as people are co-oping, you can invade, which means you can make a low-level invader or a mid-level invader. I think the lowest you want to go is 43, and then, you can make a character in, the 60s, and you can match with people who are doing end-game stuff. Or you can make a meta-level character, and you can do duels at the Nightmare Frontier, or Murgo's Loft, You can, this is what this video is going to be about. You can also just stream snipe people on Twitch, which is what I did. And I had a lot of fun. Now, the people I'm about to stream snipe were obviously in on it. They were doing what's called a Sinister run. And how that works is you play through the game with your Sinister bell ringing. And now, because these people knew they were playing through the game, trying to be invaded, what they also did was they rang the beckoning bell, the bell that summons friendly phantoms. However, we, the viewer, knew what rune they wore in the Covenant slot. They were wearing the Vile Blood rune, which means we could wear the Executioner rune. And if we get summoned into their world via the friendly bell, we would still be enemies. So they had no friendly phantoms. All they had were people trying to kill them. Reds can hit the invaders that show up, the purples, basically. They're supposed to be blue, but they end up being red, so they're purple. Reds and purples can hit each other. There can be 2 purples and 1 red. So most of the time, when we invaded the streamers, Ghost Hardware 25 and question_Able, when we invaded these streamers, it would typically just turn into a free-for-all. We weren't trying to, just gank the streamers to death for the most part. Sometimes we did. But because Twitch, and I guess maybe YouTube, people stream on YouTube as well, because these things exist, and because people are still out here playing through the game, doing those sorts of runs, or people will host in an area and they'll host a fight club, because those sorts of things happen, Bloodborne PvP is still very much alive and well. There's the duels, there's the Sinister runs, and then there's the random invasions. I have made a bunch of videos talking about how much I love Bloodborne PvP. Every Halloween, I do a Sinister run, and I let everybody invade me. We do some co-op. It's a good time. It's a fun, happy time. These fights that you're watching right now, I just kind of included as background fodder while I did my little spiel on how all Bloodborne PvP works, the mechanics of the game, how it looks in 2019, and as you can see, I can find some random invasions in 2019, because wisely, the game is tied to co-op. So for as long as people are co-oping, there will be invasions. It's an excellent move to keep your game active from Miyazaki. Otherwise, players could just run through the game. Like, imagine in Dark Souls 1, why would you ever use a humanity? After you've used it, lit the bonfire, kindled the bonfire, why would you ever use another humanity again? It doesn't give you any sort of bonus. Bloodborne doesn't have anything like that, but if you want to co-op, if you want to play with other people, you're going to get an invader, because that's how they scale the difficulty. They let the invaders show up to say, you've got an overleveled phantom? Okay. As a result, your game is made easier. So here comes an invader, here comes a human opponent that will try and make the game difficult again. And I can already hear them now. Listen, can you hear them? They're saying, but the enemies get more health, and the bosses are harder when I summon. You have completely broken the game's AI when you summon. If you don't believe me, play through the game with a summon, and then play through the game by yourself. And tell me how many times an enemy stops fighting you and just starts wandering around in a circle when you don't have a phantom. It won't do that. When you do have a phantom, the AI of the enemy will sort of break. It gets lost. It doesn't know what to do for a minute. A boss doesn't know which person it should be swinging at, and as a result, just acts stupid and doesn't do anything. That doesn't happen in a single-player campaign. And the creators of the game know that, and as a result, they tied co-op to invasions, and it works just fine. Now, all the rest of the clips in this video that you're going to see, were grabbed as I stream sniped either Ghost Hardware 25 or question_able. They were doing 2 separate streams. Both of them were the same level, and they were in the same area, and we knew what covenant they were wearing, so we could come in as friendly, quote-unquote, adversaries or invaders. And these are always a blast, because you're playing someone who also has an appreciation for this game's PvP and the weapon mechanics, so you're not fighting people who are just spamming the gun. So here's me and Ghost, Ludwig's Holy Blade, versus his Boomhammer and his Kirkhammer. The Alabama boy. The Alabama Slammer. He loves that Boomhammer. I outspace him there with an L2. He gets me with a dash R1. It's unbuffed, so it doesn't do a whole lot of damage. He goes for the charged R2. He loves that charged R2. He switches over to the Kirkhammer, the straight sword variant. He goes for the transform attack. I get him with an R2. That's 433 damage. An L2 gives me 500 some odd damage. Ghost has to heal. He gets me with a nice R2 and fucks me up. I need to heal. He needs to heal. I see him swap. He transforms his weapon, so I know it's safe to heal. He comes dashing at me, so I take a gamble. Fully charged R2. He takes a gamble in return. Can he interrupt my hyper armor? Fuck no, he can't. Oh, it's a beautiful game. It's a beautiful game. Now, the next time I invade Ghost, he has a co-op partner, which he didn't intend to have. Dark Sun Tai, if I'm not mistaken. And he is using the Whirligig Saw. So Ghost lets me just kind of have a 1v1 with Dark Sun here. Dark Sun is fucking awesome at this game, and he eats me alive with this Whirligig. I go for the fully charged R2 follow-up R2. I miss, and he just punishes me for it like a madman. All kinds of damage. Alright, I need to heal here, but I know he's not going to give up, so I have to hit him. If I hit him, I do 1,000 damage of my own. It saves me. Now we can both heal. He's in cauliflower mode, giving me hell with that beautiful Whirligig. And then he switches over to the Cos Parasite, which is a pain in the ass to fight. He goes for the Wrath of Cos right there. I know to get out of the way. I hit him with the Executioner's Gloves and an uncharged R2 with the Holy Moonlight Sword. And then he gets absolutely decimated out of nowhere by a rock from one of these lost children. Which was... I mean, he had me on the ropes. And then the big rock out of nowhere. That's one of the reasons I love this game so much. Now, a lot of people who don't understand PvP and are trapped in the Dark Souls 1 mindset, they see PvP where people are healing, and they say, why are you healing? That's not honorable. Heals in Bloodborne are intended fucking gameplay. Everybody has 20 blood vials, or you can have 20 blood vials. The invaders can use them, the hosts can use them, and healing adds a huge extra component to how you play, because you can parry people who are going for a heal. So we've got just this wild 1v1v1 going on right here. All 3 players can hit each other. We've got the Kirkhammer, Ludwig's Holy Blade, and the Holy Moonlight Greatsword. So Ludwig's Holy Blade gets taken out of the fight by Ghost. I'm able to hit him with the charged R2. I go for the follow-up R2. He avoids. He goes to heal. I see the heal coming. I know that he wants to heal. And so I parry it, and I kill him with a visceral attack. Healing in Bloodborne PvP, a lot of times, even Ghost, when he has duels with people, he'll say, hey man, feel free to heal. Which is more than I would ever do. You should just know to heal in this game. It's part of the game. Healing is... Even if you're having a quote-unquote duel, both people can heal. Now, I realize there's a lot of people who like to have the no heal duels, and that's fine, you know, but even the people who do that will sort of neuter themselves another way by, a lot of times, they'll only do, like, fight clubs where everybody can only have one blood gem in their weapon. So they're not hitting each other for, 500 damage on a single R1. This is a fight against Questionable, and if I'm not mistaken, the other person is Dang It JM, using the threaded cane. Look at the damage on the threaded cane. That's another thing. He might have caught me in the equivalent of a roll catch, which is a dash catch in Bloodborne. And when that happens, you take regular damage as well as instability damage. So it hurts. My build is an arcane build, so I'm using my spells. I'm tossing around a Cursed Bruise. I've got the Augur of Abritus, etc. The L2 on the Kirkhammer to JM. Then JM avoids my backstab attempt with the Augur of Abritus. Get him with the parry. Get him with the Visceral. Almost kill him. But then Questionable has to show up and L2 me with that damn hammer. And then I get big oofed. Dead as hell, boy. Now here's an example of me being summoned as a friendly, quote-unquote, but because I'm wearing opposite runes as the host, he's a Vile Blood, I'm an Executioner, we're enemies. But this means I can also attack anyone who is an invader using the Sinister Bell. Now if another Executioner shows up using the Beckoning Bell, we're going to be on, we can't hit each other, so we're basically on the same team, which is what has happened here. So you have this uneasy 2v2 where the host and the red have to work together, but they have friendly fire. However, the other two invaders, the Executioners, do not have friendly fire. So we're free to just gank the shit out of whoever we feel like ganking. It adds a lot of craziness when this happens. Ghost is coming at me with the Kirkhammer. I get him with the Augur and the R2 with the Holy Moonlight Sword. I see the R1 coming, get the parry and the Visceral. Now I'm using an arcane build, so my Visceral attacks don't do a shit ton of damage. But Ghost was already at half health, so. Now, to be fair though, the red invader did manage to kill my teammate, so well played. Good game to everybody. But that's an example of how wild and chaotic and crazy you can get with these invasions in Bloodborne, and it's something that you can't really do outside of Bloodborne. Here I've invaded Draco. He was another person that was hanging out doing invasions and stuff with us. And Draco's a really good player, and he's really fun to fight. He's using the delayed Molotovs, and he's using the Safe and the Chikage. I believe he's running an Arctinge build. You can see the Safe does a ton of damage. It's basically a Saw Cleaver with hyper armor. As a result, he's able to eat my ass alive with it. He almost gets the heal parry there. I try to bait him in with an R2. He takes the bait, but he punishes me for it. He gets the heal parry, transform attack with the Chikage to finish me off. Just beautiful. The salty run back. So, I'm hanging out here, trying to invade Ghost and Questionable, and Draco invades me. So we get the salty run back. I get a rematch with Draco. I don't know if he would have attacked me there or not, but I managed to clip him with an R1 on the Ludwig's Holy Blade. He gets me with some verticality on the stairs. I bait him with an L2 and then follow it up with an R1 that hits him as he uses a delayed Molotov. I Beast Roar and then put on some pressure. He uses the Executioner's Glove into the Chikage transform attack. Charged R2 misses. Follow-up R2 is interrupted by the Chikage. Back to the Safe he goes. So back to the Holy Moonlight Sword I go. I heal because I know he's out of position to heal parry me. I expected an attack. Perfect spacing into a true combo on the transform. Just a beautiful fight. I actually, I'm not a huge fan of duels in Dark Souls 3. For me, personally, I find them to be kind of boring and shallow. That's just me. It's just my opinion. I love duels in Bloodborne. Now, fortunately or unfortunately, one person is always going to be at a 30% health disadvantage. As you can see here, I am getting my ass, like, I'd be dead if I didn't have the 30% health advantage there. My opponent is whipping my ass with that Burial Blade. Also, that Cthulhu cannon is just going off in the background, making it hard for me to find an opportunity to hit this person. My follow-up R2 is again interrupted. My dash R1 works okay. They're staggering curved sword swings, basically, which is obviously smart, no matter what game you're playing. I'm able to space out the Burial Blade Scythe. Positioning plays a huge part in Bloodborne. Executioner's Gloves into the R2 on the Ludwigs, into the Transform. And here I missed the heal parry, but so much of Bloodborne's PvP is momentum-based. This player is at a real disadvantage. Should they try and hit me before they heal? Should they just try and heal in my face? Should they Beast Roar and then heal? There's all these mind games that go on when you heal. But that's my video. I hope you enjoyed it. This is Bloodborne in the year 2019. And no, the PvP is not dead, and it never will be. You can get on Twitch and you can find all kinds of people doing duels. You can play a low-level character and do invasions. There's all kinds of... It's here, and it's fine. It has its problems. But again, when it plays fun, it's the most fun you can have, in my opinion. Later, y'all.